So, my older brother, 33, has been married to his wife, let's call her Molly, 32, female, for 5 years. They have a 2-year-old daughter together, too. Recently, I found out that my brother had been cheating on Molly with a friend of mine. My friend was the one who confessed to me because she couldn't do this anymore and was racked with guilt, and I cut her off immediately once I had all the proof that I needed. There were hundreds of screenshots to prove that he was having an affair, and it had been going on for almost a year, ever since they met at my birthday party last year. My brother and I have been best friends, so I was quite shocked when I found out about his affair. I was disgusted that he'd been getting up to no good behind his wife's back, because in my opinion, that's how scumbags behave, and my brother wasn't supposed to be one. Molly was a nice girl, and she deserved better, so I knew that she had to know about this. After that, even if she left him, it would be her call. About a week ago, I confronted my brother about this and told him that he needed to come clean to his wife. I invited him over to my house and told him that I knew all about the affair, and I wanted him to tell his wife the truth since she deserved to know. She had given him a wonderful life and a beautiful daughter. The least that he could do for her after everything was tell her the truth himself. He tried to deny it at first, but I already had all the screenshots, and I showed him so that he wouldn't waste more of our time trying to deny it. And then he started sobbing uncontrollably and tried to tell me that he didn't mean for it to happen. It just started off as harmless flirting, but then they were just going really hot and heavy all of a sudden, and he couldn't control himself. I was disgusted because I never expected my brother, of all people, to turn out to be a cheater. I let him cry for a little while, but then I told him that regardless of whatever had happened, he had to tell Molly the truth. So then he started begging me not to make him do that because that would ruin his life. He said that Molly would leave him if he told her the truth, and he really loved her and he couldn't live without her. I told him that he should have thought about that before he started having an affair with a friend of mine, and he didn't, so that was all on him. I told him that if he didn't tell her the truth, then I most certainly would. He was pretty desperate and kept begging me to keep this a secret because he couldn't afford to lose his family. He said that he would never do this again and was counting on me just to help him out once. I didn't make any promises, but after an hour of him just begging me to keep things quiet, I realized that he was not going to agree, and I was tired of talking to him, so I told him to go back home. Let me just make it very clear once more that I did not make any promises to him. And I couldn't tell him that I was going to help him keep this secret. A few days passed and my brother and Molly were still posting pictures online and acting normally, so I figured out that he still hadn't told her the truth. I decided to talk to Molly personally. I called her a few days after I met with my brother. We had a small talk before I got to the point where she was telling me that my brother was about to take them on a beach trip for the weekend, and she was super excited about it. It was their 5-year marriage anniversary, and she said that he wanted to celebrate it in a big way, which is why they were going out. She was telling me how happy she was, and I just couldn't take it. So I told her the truth and even sent her all the screenshots. I kept saying that I was really sorry that this was happening to her, but I wanted her to know because she needed to know the truth. She didn't say much at the time, only that she was thankful for me letting her know, and then hung up. Later that day, I found out from my brother that she had left the house with their daughter and was nowhere to be found. He was panicking because he had tried to call her several times, but she wasn't responding, and none of her friends would tell him where she was either. He asked me if I had told her anything about the affair, and I decided to be honest and told him that I had told her everything. And she knew the truth now since he had made it clear that he wasn't going to be honest with her. He started shouting at me and accusing me of ruining his marriage by sticking my nose where it didn't belong. He was completely hysterical and I couldn't handle that, so I disconnected the call and blocked him. Then yesterday I found out that he had been served with divorce papers, and apparently Molly was also filing for full custody of their daughter. And since she was a stay-at-home mom, she was also demanding an insane alimony, along with the house and most of their assets. It was a crazy list of demands, but honestly, I feel like my brother deserves this, and it's very hard to feel bad for him knowing that he cheated on her for a full year. And it probably would have gone on longer if my friend didn't suddenly develop a conscience, end the affair, and come clean to me. He has been texting me relentlessly from different numbers, telling me that this is my fault and I need to do something to fix it. Because he cannot do without his family, and I'm the reason his daughter might get taken away from him now. I have been ignoring him, but it's getting more difficult to do that because now a lot of other people are also involved. He told our parents about what I did, and they believed that I screwed up. My parents and I spoke a couple of days back, and they think that I overstepped by telling Molly about the affair. They believe that it was not my place to tell her about it, no matter what my sense of morality told me. I was surprised that they were sticking up for my brother, but they said that they were not okay with what he did. But despite that, they agreed that I had no business talking to Molly about something like this. And they think that I ruined 3 lives at once, not just my brother's, but also Molly's and their daughters. The reason they said that was because they thought that Molly actually did love my brother more than he loved her. And if my brother had spoken to her himself, then things might have gone over better, and they probably could have worked on their marriage and stayed together somehow. There is no doubt about the fact that their daughter would have greatly benefited from her parents staying together and working things out, instead of just getting a divorce. That's what my parents believe, and they strongly feel that if my brother had been given the opportunity to talk to Molly and tell her everything on his own terms, then the outcome could have been different. So apparently it kind of is my fault that they are now going to be headed towards divorce. Needless to say, I don't agree with what my parents believe. I had given my brother a chance to tell Molly the truth, but he didn't do that, and he was just going to lead her on. I also hadn't promised my brother that I was going to help him keep this a secret, so he really shouldn't have expected me to stay quiet for long. I had made it very clear to him that I was going to tell her the truth if he didn't do it himself, and that's exactly what I did. So I think he had been given a fair warning and a real chance to do the decent thing, but he chose not to. I think it's quite unfair for everybody to blame me for his divorce when all I did was tell Molly the truth. AITA for telling my sister-in-law that my brother was cheating on her? Update 1. I have decided that I am going to now cut off my brother and the rest of my family because in the past few days everybody has shown their true colors to me. I can't believe that all of them are rallying for my brother and are actually defending a cheater. The mental gymnastics that's needed to defend my brother and make me the villain is just insane, and I can't even believe that this is happening to me right now. Ever since he got served with a divorce, not just my parents, but a lot of other relatives have also texted me to let me know that what I did was messed up, and that they do not agree with how I dealt with the situation. They believe that I should have just stayed out of it because this was none of my business anyway, and I had no right to go and talk to Molly about something so sensitive, knowing that I held the power to ruin my brother's marriage and life. I should have been more careful and dealt with this a little more sensitively. Or maybe shouldn't have dealt with it because it wasn't my place to do so. That's all that I have been hearing from everybody, and it's getting really tiring. I am 100% sure that my brother never would have told Molly if it really came down to it, and the lies just would have gone on endlessly. Also, saying that I should have stayed out of this because it was not my business is pretty ridiculous because the woman that my brother cheated on his wife with happens to be a close friend of mine. The only reason I ever even got to know about his infidelity was because I was friends with his affair partner, so to believe that I was going to stay away and not get involved is a ridiculous expectation. Everybody is so caught up in trying to get me to apologize to my brother for sticking my nose in his marriage, they have completely forgotten that none of this would have happened if he just stayed loyal to his wife. How hard could that possibly have been? Molly was a wonderful wife and a lovely human being. Anybody with half a heart would not have been able to keep something like this to themselves. She and I always got along really well, and that day when I heard her talking about how excited she was for the beach trip and to celebrate her wedding anniversary with my brother, I just couldn't help myself. She loved my brother, and what he did to her was disgusting. Only the lowest of the low could cheat on their wife with a woman they barely even knew. Even after being with Molly for so long and having a daughter with her, my brother still went out of his way to cheat. And if he did it once, he might have also done it in the past, or maybe he would do it again. So for Molly's sake, I had to let her know. She deserves better than this. And I didn't care if it was my brother that I was selling out to protect someone who had no fault here. If he screwed up, then that was completely on him, and my family could try to somehow distort the facts and make me the bad guy. They could pat themselves on the back for it, but I knew the truth, and as long as I knew that I did what was right, I don't care what anybody else says about me. I stayed true to myself, and I stood up for what I believe in, so screw them. Update 2. Hi, so it's been 2 weeks since I blocked my family. I don't know what they've been up to, and nobody has tried to contact me after I blocked them. Good riddance, honestly. I don't want to talk to anyone either. But recently Molly got in touch with me and thanked me yet again for telling her the truth. She called me from a number that I didn't have saved, so I'm assuming that she changed her phone number after filing for the divorce. She told me that she was now living in a spare apartment that belonged to a friend of hers. That friend didn't live here and only returned once a year, so it was a convenient arrangement for her now. My brother didn't know that address, and neither did anyone else, so she was not too worried about him being able to find her. He had tried to contact her on her old number a couple of times, but she hadn't responded. She told me that she had been suspecting that maybe he wasn't being completely truthful with her for the last couple of months, but never brought it up because she just thought that she was being paranoid. The day that I told her about the affair and sent her all those screenshots, she made up her mind that she was going to leave him that very moment, and it didn't even take her more than an hour to pack her things up and go. She told me that she didn't even cry until she was out of that house. I felt really bad while she was telling me all of that, and I apologized for what my brother did. So she told me that I wasn't the one who needed to apologize to her, it was my brother. If anything, I'm the one who did the right thing by telling her the truth, and probably the only decent person from my family, because everybody else who had contacted her just wanted her to reconsider and go back to my brother. My parents had texted her and said that instead of running away from the problem and leaving my brother, she should stay with him and work things out, for the sake of their daughter, if not for the sake of my brother. And my brother had only been texting her to come back and begging her for forgiveness, but he kept making it all about himself. All his texts were about how horrible he felt about what he did and how he wouldn't be able to survive without Molly and their daughter. He didn't even seem to care about how he made her feel, and that's what really sucked. He spoke on the phone for a little while more until she had to go, and I wished her luck for the divorce proceedings. It was a nice conversation, and I felt better about what I did, knowing that Molly was doing all right, and so was my niece. I guess that is exactly what I needed, some reassurance that I did the right thing, and she was probably the best person to give me that validation. Update 3. Hey, so 10 days have passed since my last update. From what I know, the divorce proceedings have already started. Molly's doing great, and I've even visited my niece a couple of times, so it's going well. The only person that it's not going great for is my brother. My parents decided to start guilt-tripping me and started texting me from a new phone number to let me know about my brother's miserable state. Apparently, he has been drinking himself to sleep almost every night and has lost a lot of weight because he can't even bring himself to eat. They told me that he had dark circles under his eyes from a lack of sleep, and even sent me a couple of photos to prove it. I feel bad for him, but I don't understand what this has to do with me. I mean, the divorce has already started. There's no turning back anymore, so he should probably be focusing on trying to make himself seem less of a jerk than he is so he doesn't lose everything, instead of trying to win me over and gain my sympathy. He hasn't reached out to me directly, but my parents keep talking to me, and I really don't know what they expect me to do here. I would have blocked them, but I'm actually kind of curious as to where this might lead. It's been a few days since they started texting me, and if they get to the point in the next couple of days, then it's great. But if they don't, then I will have to ask them myself, and for that, I will have to reply to the messages. I'm already so tired thinking about the conversation that will take place next, but I want to know what's going on. In case it's something helpful, I can pass that information on to Molly. Yeah, I know a lot of you might be thinking that I have no loyalty towards my family. But my brother wasn't loyal to his family either, so I guess it runs in the genes. So 3 days after the last update and today, I finally responded to my parents and asked them point blank what they wanted me to do, because I couldn't stop Molly from getting a divorce. That was already done now. That ship had failed, and my parents and also my brother needed to accept it and move on. But they told me that that's not what they were texting me about, and they actually wanted me to talk to Molly and convince her to change her absurd list of demands. They said that she was demanding a lot, and if my brother agreed to it, then he would lose everything that he had worked so hard for, including their house and both their cars. She was also asking for a lot of money in the divorce settlement and the alimony, and they wanted me to talk to Molly and tell her that it was a bad idea, and that she was going to ruin my brother's life if she went through with this. They knew that my brother didn't have a chance of ever getting away with what he did, especially since Molly's lawyer was one of the best. They couldn't defeat her legally, so they wanted me to talk to her and manipulate her into letting go of a couple of things. Because the mediation wasn't going according to plan, and my brother was doing pretty badly on that front. So this was the only option that they had left, and they knew that Molly and I were on good terms. So I was their only hope. They also mentioned that since I was the one who was behind their marriage falling apart, this is the least that I could do for my brother and family. They believe that I owe this to them, and as ridiculous as it sounds, they really thought that this would convince me to be on their side after so long. I was a little surprised that they didn't bring up the custody of my niece even once while they were telling me about what they wanted me to talk to Molly about. So I decided to ask them myself, and after some hesitation, they told me that they didn't think my brother wanted custody of his daughter anyway, which is why he wasn't fighting too hard for it. They told me that my brother himself had said that he was right with having just visiting rights and nothing more. He just wanted to keep whatever he had worked for, meaning his money and his assets. And he thought that Molly would be better suited to raising their daughter. He was ready to provide them with child support, but he didn't have the time to raise their daughter on his own, so it wouldn't make sense to fight for custody if he never even got to spend time with her. It was astounding to me how he was still being so selfish and materialistic, but I was also relieved that he wasn't fighting for her custody because she deserved a better father. One who wanted to be her father. I heard my parents out, and then I disconnected the call and blocked their number, because I had recorded everything anyway, and then I sent that recording to Molly, hoping that this would be of some use to her. She hasn't replied to me yet, probably because she's busy. But I really, really hope that my brother doesn't even get visiting rights after this. I hope Molly listens to this and gets to know what an awful human being my brother was. She had told me earlier that she wouldn't mind letting him have visitation rights, but now, after this conversation, I really think she should reconsider that and make sure that he doesn't ever get to breathe the same air as them anymore. He just doesn't deserve it. He has been a terrible father and an even worse husband. Update 5. So Molly heard the recording and she was very upset. She called me up a few hours ago and told me that she was thankful that I sent this to her because now she is going to make sure that he doesn't get visiting rights either. I could tell that she had been crying and I wanted to console her, but I didn't even know what I could say to make her feel better. First, she had been cheated on by a man she had spent so many beautiful years with, and now she finds out that he doesn't even care about his own daughter. I don't even know how she finds the strength to face him during the mediation process and doesn't feel the urge to smack him in the face every single time he opens his mouth. She probably does, but she manages to restrain herself somehow. And that makes her a lot stronger than me because I don't think I would have been able to put up such a strong front had I been in her place. I'm not even in her place. I'm just his sister. And yet I still want to hit him and teach him a lesson. I can't imagine how my parents are still supporting him after everything that he's done, and even have the audacity to tell me what I should do for him. That last phone call really made me feel sure that I did the right thing by blocking all of them. They're disgusting people, and I want nothing to do with this family anymore. If I could, I would probably even change my last name to make sure nobody associates me with these people. My brother was the worst of them all. I really hope that Molly gets whatever she wants and really makes him pay. Update 6. Hi, so it's been a few months since the last update. My parents and I haven't spoken since then, and neither have I come across my brother, so it's all great. They probably realized after a while that I was the one selling them out after that phone call reached Molly, and decided that they wouldn't talk to me anymore. But it was already too late. Molly got whatever she asked for and has moved back into her old house with their daughter, while my brother's living with our parents right now. He'd have to give up more than half of his income, what with the alimony and child support, and I couldn't be happier about it. He deserves this, and I really feel vindicated. Molly and I are still in touch. I visit her a couple of times every month and meet my niece, who's growing up really fast. She also bought me a professional camera since she knows how much I enjoy photography. From the settlement money and a way to thank me for all the help, I just did what I should have, but it's nice that she appreciated it. She now refers to me as the better sibling sometimes, which is funny, but also kind of sad because both of us lost someone we loved all because of his own actions. It's fine though. We'll get over it and be there for each other even after that. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.